Hey everyone, thanks for coming to support Leanne today. We're just going to be chatting a little bit about this subpoena gate that just got a little bit crazier with X now coming into the chat and lawyers coming into the chat. We talked about this yesterday, right, Leanne?
Yeah.
That
Yeah, we
no
were.
lawyers had been subpoenaed yet, that they didn't dare do any lawyers, and then now here we are.
Yeah, two. Spiritual Shift is also a lawyer.
Thanks everyone for coming by and hanging out with us so we can talk this out, see what's going on with it.
So, well, yeah, I was taken a bit by surprise actually because I was on Omar's stream and I literally I think I stopped Cassidy. I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Cassidy," and kind of interrupted. But I said, "Oh, we got breaking news. It looks like X users have been subpoenaed." And the first thing I did was check my emails. There was nothing there. So I was like, "Oh, okay." Then I don't. That seemed to have escaped that. And I finished the live chat and kind of got off it. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning, my time. And I hadn't been to bed that night at all. And I went upstairs to kind of grab a few hours of a nap. And I had a message then from Spiritual Shift, and she was like, "Oh, you should check your emails." I was like, "Oh, I've already done that. I haven't got anything." She was like, "Yeah, but your name's on it. You're number 10." And so I looked, I was like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And so I asked her to send me a screenshot. So she did that, which I have here. This isn't the full thing. I do not have the full document, but this is production number 10. And can you see the mouse on the screen?
I don't see the mouse, but I just see we can see the picture.
Yeah, so on the hold on. So on the top line there is my username, which is been smudged. It looks terrible actually.
Yeah, and
But
that's the thing that why we always thought it was fake, because you see how clear it is at the bottom?
I
And
know.
then on all the usernames, even in the Google subpoenas, it had what they call like a scamder or whatever, where it's like back in the day they used to make it make it look photocopied or faxed to make it legit. And so it was like a trick that scammers would use, like to put like that little scamder on it. But that's what it looks like, and it's all blurred, like, and it's
Look,
only on the name, only on the name.
only on a name, and then I realised then, oh, what's happened here? I can see why I didn't get an email. And it's because they've got the number 1 missing off the end.
It's
Because the
QRJ 2001.
2001, and they're missing that number 1. Now, that doesn't make this any less valid, unfortunately. Like a small clerical error does not invalidate this. So I've emailed Ezra Hudson because I thought, well, I can do one or two things. I can ignore it completely and then take a risk on whether behind the scenes X will kind of go to her and say, look, we don't have a username by Kiara J 200. Because I did look, I was like, oh, is there someone else who's covering this case who has, an almost identical handle to me, and this username does not exist. And when you type in all of this, the only option that comes up is me. So I was like, okay, well, behind the scenes, because obviously it's X that's been subpoenaed, not me. So I could take my risk and be like, hope that X will bounce it back and say, no, we have no one of that name. What they're more likely to do is say, well, we haven't got anyone of that name. Do you want to check the spelling? And then, because there's deadlines and everything, and the subpoena is dated. I've seen the subpoena. It's dated the 3rd of July, like the Google ones are. So, it's like, well, what is the deadline for this then? Because we have had this come out a week after all the Google subpoenas went out. So we got to get some kind of response in by the 31st. I have no idea.
Because they also said in the sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but Spiritual Shift said it was July 16th. So we're just assuming that maybe it's the same as Google and they got through the 31st, but for
And
all we know,
we're
it could have
past the
been the 16th.
16th, aren't we? Though, because everyone, this was sent out on the 17th. We're already past the 16th, so we have to assume that it's the 31st, which is what I believe some of the Google parties confirmed, that there must have been something where they kind of added time and delayed the date of compliance. But I was talking because I was trying to explain it to because I've been helping with the motions to quash for some of the Google subpoenas people, and what we've had to explain here, and it will apply to me, is you need with Google anyway, because X, the email doesn't have an email address. It's like, oh well, just get a stamped thing here and send it back to us. It doesn't do that. It doesn't say much. What it does is says, here, try these American organizations who may be able to help you, which isn't going to help me because I'm not American. But if I need to file something and get a stamped copy, well, and for a non-party, it can take several days. And as we're seeing with Cassidy, the smallest little things get it bounced back. So I need to file something, is my understanding, so it can get stamped. And then I don't know, I'm still waiting to hear from both Manat and X at the moment. I have no idea what is going on. So the other option so I could just do nothing about the typo. But the fact is if she's going to subpoena me and doesn't get it this way, then she will just maybe submit a subpoena either here again or to Google or to, somewhere else, Instagram, TikTok, it could be anything, Reddit. So I proactively emailed her and said, look, and I did actually take a bit of pleasure from saying to her, sorry, you spelt my name wrong. You made a great big gaping error in this.
But I even thought but then I zoomed in on it when I had seen it, the one you had sent me, because I was like trying to zoom in, because I was like, what if it's someone else and it's like Kiathy or whatever? Because I was like, is that an H and a Y, or because I couldn't make out the J for Jade. It looked more like a Y because I was trying to look at the other letters, and if you see the J at the bottom, I was like, it doesn't match the J at the top. But you know me, I'm always like seeing stuff where that's not there, but I was like, maybe it's not her. Maybe it's Kathy 200.
You can see enough that you can, because I don't know if everyone can see, but I really kind of zoomed in on that. And you can make it out, certainly the KIAR, and then the A and the J are a little bit, they look a bit
because of the blur, because
it's
it
a
blurs
blur, yeah.
you see the dirt over it. That's probably why.
But then from the D and the E, you're starting to make it out again, and then the 200 are again also unmistakable. So,
and then what do they mean by means and source of payment? Oh, is it to pay for the premium? Is that what it means? Because I was like,
I guess so, yeah. I don't really know, but I mean the request is identical to the Google one, so it's all the same thing. The personal information, first and last name, the email addresses, phone numbers, physical address, backup recovery email address or phone number, because one of the people who's also on this list has also not received notice, not because of a typo, but because they used their phone to log in. They set up their account with their mobile number, not with an email, so they haven't had an email. So there's that. Where else did I say? Yeah, so backup recovery email address or phone number, length of service, including start date and any premium services utilized, means and source of payment for such services, which includes bank account and credit card numbers, the public blockchain data, so that's things like cryptocurrencies and stuff usually, and addresses, login internet protocols, IP address, which is used for the registration, IP address used from May the 1st till now with dates and session times. So I think they're going to be hard pressed to find the time I actually logged out since January. And video upload IP addresses. And that's basically, it's the same thing as the Google one, really. So wild. I was not expecting this. Well, when I checked my email address and I was like, oh, I got an email and I saw nothing. I went to bed. I was like, oh, everything's fine. If they're not coming for me on X, they're not coming for me at all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, here we are.
Yep. So yeah, I remember I had also been on the stream because I ended up falling asleep and then barely waking up for your stream last night. I came in at the end, which if y'all haven't watched that, that was on Omar and Cassidy's channel. Is a really really good stream.
It was.
And oh my, I laughed so hard. I always like my ribs always end up hurting with Omar and Lauren. Like it's just always, and then especially you with your snark too. So it was like back and forth. Just it was a good time. And so here
Yeah.
we are coming off of this like, fun stream, and then I did the same thing you did. I went to go check X like before, I went back to sleep, and I saw Spiritual had posted, and I was like, well, let me go check my email. And I didn't have anything. I was like, I'm not trying to be part. Everybody was trying to be part of the club. I'm like, Leanne kept saying she wanted to be part of the club. No.
Yeah.
And yeah, then when I heard that you were on it, I was like, oh crap. But yeah,
Um,
that's crazy. It's crazy because um, like what's next? Like, is it gonna be TikTok? Is it gonna be Reddit? I know there's a bunch of people speculating on like, is there gonna
yeah.
be yeah, like a kitten on the chat says, is there other content creators?
Well, I think they might struggle a little bit with TikTok. I don't know. I mean, say that. And the reason I thought that was because obviously TikTok is based in China, and I thought, well, you're gonna have a hard time um, getting anything from China.
Yeah, someone
However,
said that they might even already have it, and they just like
yeah, because there is that Ryan Reynolds, well, Wrexham. I don't know if they still do, but certainly at one point they had sponsorship deal with TikTok. And we've had a whole host of issues going on with people's videos. And Ashley did a live stream today because her videos are being muted. Um, allegedly something to do with the track that's on it. But the only sound on the videos are her own voice. And we know not actually Golden had the same problem. Like a month or two ago. With certain videos of hers.
videos. It was the
Yeah.
band. Mm-hmm.
So I mean I don't really bother with TikTok too much. I'll dip in and out. I'll go and listen to people, watch their content who are predominantly on there and go and support them. But I I'm cautious of TikTok myself because it does seem to have someone pulling strings over that way. Yeah, so in essence, am I doing something about this? I have to, because, and I've said this about the other people's subpoenas as well, right? The only reason you want this kind of information, you want someone's name and address and their bank account number, is to then go with all the information you need to subpoena them personally, subpoena the bank, and get quite quite intrusive information, a lot more than just the bank numbers, because it's you're looking for something. But the thing is, right, is and this isn't necessarily my argument, but some people obviously no one wants that. There's no need for that. She hasn't actually put forward any good reason to be having that kind of access to anyone's information. But what about the people who have joint bank accounts or joint mortgage accounts? What about the person they share those accounts with, who is not subject to a subpoena, who doesn't want that someone accessing all of that? And I have been saying for a while, I've said it with Cassie, I've said it with Omar again last night. there is a real issue when we're at a point now where, for no more than saying, I either don't like this woman or I do not believe her, we're in a situation where she is able to issue these subpoenas and gain access. And I know for the people I've been speaking to who have had the Google one, it's been upsetting, it's caused anxiety. Some of them have not wanted to continue either covering the case or doing content at all. Um, and even me, with my experience and background, it still knocked the wind out my sails. Because it's a serious thing to do this. This is not a small step. This is quite a big thing to do, to go and obtain, basically, in a sense, like a warrant, a court sanctioned document to go and say to a huge tech company, I want this person's details.
Yeah, and the fact that it's like more so with the tactics that we know allegedly that were used before with, people's information and stuff.
Yeah.
That's where it gets scary, because if it was just, say, your normal person, that, it wouldn't be as scary. The fact that we know what they have, allegedly done with other information. We have the Van Zam stuff. We have the Jen Abel stuff, which, that's Stephanie Jones, but still, like, it just, for me, when I see, things like physical address, like we saw what happened with when Steve Sarowitz's address got out there, like, we don't know, is this gonna, like, accidentally not be redacted when it gets into the court docket? You know what I mean? Like how so many other names and
Oh yeah.
addresses didn't get redacted. Like, so there's a lot of implications when it comes to um like the scariness of it, because it's real, and it's, other people have been, already damaged by having their addresses out. And so it's not like a conspiracy or anything. Like, it's real life.
Oh
And that's
yeah.
the scary part about it, because
And
it's
it, and
one
it
thing if they just were trying to see, is it a smear campaign? We just want to make sure that it's not a bot. But it's like the credit card information. I mean, I guess they want that to make sure you're not getting paid by Baldoni. But it's like, I think Donna, in her show, Donna Bowling, she said, shouldn't that come from Friedman's side? Like, shouldn't they be um, like looking into the finances of Baldoni and Heath and all them, and then to see if there's any payments that were going out to content creators, not picking on content creators to see if there's any payments from Baldoni and them. So I don't know. It just seems like almost backwards. But
no,
then
it,
other
it is.
creators say that it's because she didn't find anything when they turned over their financials. So now
Yeah.
she's trying to like dig. Or other creators say it's just a scare tactic, which, I mean, do you not notice how there's like a bunch of creators who started this like with us and who are no longer here? Like, I know one of the biggest ones that I noticed was Melanie King. She
Yeah.
started it and, has not covered Blake in a long time. I
No,
know
no, she
Paul
hasn't.
Feig went after her. Remember that? His
Yeah.
videos started getting taken down. So
Yeah, there's a few that seem to have kind of veered away, and um, or some that are still covering it, but not to the extent that they were. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. Um, I know Melanie's mother passed away. I don't know if she kind of just decided to take a step back a little bit, or think, well, maybe other topics are more important to her. It could be any number of reasons, but yes, there is definitely, a situation going on where people do seem to be stepping back a little bit. Um, yeah, I guess. What do you think?
yeah, I think, yeah, look, Be Better disappeared too. Well, I know that Be Better was saying that he was only going to cover the bigger stuff. And that was, that's also another thing, that some of the creators were like not really into the Jed Wallace, or because there's so many aspects of this case that
Yeah.
a lot of people didn't want to cover all the little tiny stuff, so they would just wait till there was like a big thing. But and then also because it's been 6 months, so it also is like a lot. I know I took a 2 week break. Poor Leanne, she has not had a break at all. She's been
No.
going since January. Um, but yeah, I just was like, I know a lot of creators. I had a list on my X where I was starting to document all the creators who were like being attacked. And Be Better was on there, Perez was on there, Ashley was on there, and this is before the subpoenas. This is like when videos were being taken down and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
and and even then, a lot of people were like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't cover it," or we're hesitant to cover certain aspects of it. Because I know for me, I didn't cover
Yeah.
a lot of the Van Zandt stuff. Like there was other people who did it better and could do like a better sleuthing at it, but I didn't cover that. And yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I always tell the story about, I think I said it on your last show, was like when they said you're too scared to report on Jay-Z, you should like, but yet you report on Ryan Reynolds. And well, when somebody told me that, I was like, oh wow, like is that like a like a threat type of thing? Like what do you mean? I'm scared to report against Ryan Reynolds. They're like, no, literally Ryan Reynolds is bigger and scarier than Jay-Z. And I was like, wow. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm starting to see that. I don't think it's because he's particularly threatening himself. He just seems to have, like all these business connections and various things. I mean, it's like he's got something, his fingers in every pie. It's for want of a better word. Like the guy he's got a lot. He's wielding all this because he's not just an actor. He owns a football club. He owns, he's had big shares in various companies. When he does films, he's also got his own marketing company that does all the promotional stuff for that. So,
mhm.
it, I don't know. He's almost becoming his own kind of I can't say the word
Conglomerate.
Yeah, that's it. I've never been able to say the
I
word, but you know
got
what I
you.
mean. Yeah,
Conglomerate. No, yeah, and he, like you said, he's in a lot of stuff, and I got like so paranoid at one point. I was like, "Wait, is that about us?" Because me, I always use tea for everything. Like, oh, that's tea. And then they did the Gossip Girl, the iced tea promo for Betty Buzz, and I was like, was that a slight at me? Always saying like stop by for some tea or whatever. Like I started to get all paranoid, like it was all about me or something. But and then I think they did one like with the journalist thing too, and I was like, is that a slight against a citizen journalist? Like I started to think like, is he making these commercials like talking about us or what? But yeah.
yeah. No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But I mean, the other factor is right. Is even if I sat right, and not, I'm speaking for myself because I'm not speaking for anyone else who's had this. But even if I was like, okay, well, do you know what? She's not going to find anything anyway, so go for it. I mean, first, I don't like that argument. Well, if you've got nothing to hide, because that's just bullying people into submitting their privacy. Like,
Mhm.
most people have nothing to hide. It doesn't mean they want to share everything with you, though. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and
And
a lot of people don't like want, there's a lot of people that function as like um kind of like YouTubers and stuff with not their like full identity because there are like the crazies out there and
yeah,
um, like not even just Ryan and them, like I'm just saying like in general, like they function under like pseudonyms and stuff like that for their channels because and you see it in people who like like Zach and Dana and all them where they're constantly getting attacked and stuff. So there's a certain level of like that the like being anonymous gives you a little bit like
yeah,
um I remember when Nag got docs, not actually Golden, and how she was scared they were going to go to her kid's school and stuff because they
yeah.
found out where her kid went to school and all this stuff. So it was yeah,
Which is
once your identity gets disclosed, then people can go after your kids or your family or whatever.
Well,
So,
once it's out there, and just to be very clear, what happened with Nag, I'm not going to go into it too much, but a lot of people kind of justifying it. Well, it's public, it's publicly available information. The fact that something is, available to find does not mean it took so much effort to actually go digging for that information to find out about her, but then to bring it to the right to the top and put it in front of so many people, that's no, that's not okay. um she clearly didn't want her identity, and I'm speaking as someone who, yes, my photo, people can see my face, great, fine. The name is not my real name, but
mhm.
there are very good reasons, and I am going to cover that. But with Blake Lively, why would I want her to have my information, right? Firstly, why on earth would I want this woman to have my information? Because if we look at this, right, I'm going to screen share. Um, where am I? What was it? Right, I'm going to put this one up. Yeah, this is an email. This is from this is part of one of my threads, the one on her protective order for her deposition, and basically her demands to go through with a deposition for her own lawsuit. I'm hoping we are getting close to the 15-minute mark because I'm getting ready to swear. But the location here is redacted. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then here is the email that was sent as part of a different motion only a couple of days before.
Where it's unredacted.
Completely unredacted.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. It's like, how do we know that these docs aren't gonna
Yeah,
reveal?
I mean,
Because it happened to Steve Sarowitz, it happened to Jen Abel, it happened to Baldoni, I'm pretty sure too.
yeah. I if I want, on the docket are the addresses and phone numbers of all of the Wayfarer pies. They're there. You have to dig for them, but they are there. And then obviously she's disclosed Jed Wallace's medical condition. No, that was in Texas, and fair enough, she wasn't under a protective order, but she is in a lawsuit here in New York where there's a protective order, and you'd think, like, she would be aware he would not want this out there. And then there was the email chain, which included, well, it was the text messages in the New York Times, but also the email chain talking about Baldoni's neurodivergence. Just kind of aimlessly put into things. And she's the first one to have this huge tantrum about her own privacy. And I tell you what, this is the worst one though, is these emails. That's her own counsel not safeguarding her privacy. Because if they didn't want this information released, where they were hoping to get her deposition, if it was such a security risk, why the fuck are you putting it in a filing only a couple of days prior? Because they would have been working on the other one at the same time. So you knew you were going to redact it here, but you unredacted it there, and then stuffed it in a filing you knew was going to go on a public docket. And they knew people like me would be, going through these filings and, commenting on them, putting them up on X.
Mhm.
I just find it so stupid that they can say with a straight face, "Oh yeah, don't worry, we're going to take care of your
Oh
information. We
my
won't
gosh, is
use
that
it."
Perez Hilton, the real Perez Hilton in the chat? We got Perez Hilton in
Oh,
the chat.
hi,
Thank you,
Prez.
Perez. Yeah,
That's so
he still
sweet.
has not gotten his subpoena yet. But wow, how crazy. We got I used to follow you, Perez, way back in the day. Um, when you first started. That's really cool.
Yeah, we will fight on, don't you worry. And yeah, I don't know, that was a nice little boost actually. Thank you so much for that. But
Yeah, it's really
I
cool.
I am, yeah, I'm absolutely fuming that, like that they're sitting there going, well, no, don't worry, just trust me. Do you know they watered down, right? what it
Yeah,
is they
he's saying he
want
still
and
has
why
not been served. He still has not been served, even though they said that they were serving him. Can they not find you, Perez?
well, they're moving now, aren't they, for
Well,
alternative
they just
service?
filed a doc. I don't know if Perez knows this. It was breaking right when we came on.
Yeah, someone to be
That,
served via
that
Instagram.
they're trying to serve Barnes via Instagram, so they might want to be serving him via Instagram or X. Who knows what they're gonna via Reddit.
I know it's like, yeah, so keep an eye on that. Um, but they're even not being upfront. They weren't upfront about the subpoenas in the first place last week to the various people who tried to find out about it. And then when people did get to speak to um, Ezra Hudson, the kind of messaging was, "Oh, yeah, it's okay. Don't worry. You got nothing to worry about. We just want basic, subscriber information. And by subscriber, I mean the owner of the channel, not, like the actual subscribers of that channel." Um, and they were like, "Yeah, it's okay. We don't really want much. It's like, but what you want can only lead on to other things." So it's misleading for you to say, well, we just want this little bit here. It's really nothing, don't worry about it. You won't miss it. And we'll take care of it, because they take care of nothing, not even their own clients' information. And, it can only lead on to other things. Otherwise, what do you need someone's bank numbers for if you are not going to that person's bank to get, far more intrusive information? And I find it wild that we're kind of sitting in this situation now for no other reason than I don't believe this woman. I don't. I looked at everything. I do not believe her. Um, and she doesn't like what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's not the first time that it's happened where X has gotten subpoenaed. I'm doing a show tonight with a deep dive. Don't fuck with justice on X actually had posted something that gave me like how I get with my little Roman empires. I was like, okay, now I got
Yeah.
to dig about how Amber Heard had done it, and it's funny because if you Google it, it doesn't come up, and even if you ask ChatGPT, it's like she never did subpoena X creators, but Andrea Burkhart, who's a lawyer on X, she
Yeah.
she made a video and it's got like all the docs and everything. So I put together a show for tonight. I know it's probably late for you, Leanne, but because you still haven't gotten sleep since last night.
I still haven't got it, but at the same time, I can't see me go to sleep, like, because I'm really trying, because it's 9 o'clock at night here now in the UK on a Friday night, so I've still got time. America is still open. I've still got time to sit and think about this or work out what do I need to do next. Who do I need to speak to, and you know I'm going to be using that time. I'm also going to be using that time to kind of sit down and say publicly, I'm pissed off with this. And it's not that I'm pissed off because of the information. That's not what's happening here. I'm not afraid of this woman at all, and I'm not afraid of a lawyer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am quite prepared to go balls to the wall with a motion to quash. No problem. What is pissing me off here is if this woman, I'm having to hold myself back. If this
We don't want
bitch,
more subpoenas.
if, yes, if this bitch, right, is watching my channel, which it appears she is now, then how many times have I talked about the abuse I have been through? My reasons for covering this case, right? I have been so clear, right? One, until the other day, literally last night was my first live stream monetized. It was my first ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was so excited. I got my first member. This is all brand new. I've never experienced anything like this before. It's the first platform I'm monetized on now. And like last night was, it was like a whole new experience. I've never had super chats before. I've never had people, become members before. And it was just like, oh, yay. I've achieved the next level. So it can only go up from here.
And you've always said that this has been kind of like an outlet for you as
Yeah,
well. And Lauren has said that too because she's also, has had experiences, that are, this almost similar to this, where it's like sexual abuse or sexual
yeah,
harassment, false charges and stuff like that. So for her, it was also an outlet, and she was one of the ones subpoenaed too. So it's like she made a video saying like, well, now you're trying to silence these women's voices who were using
exactly.
this case and this, their platforms to talk about the things that they'd gone through and like
And
all
and
of
that's
that
it.
stuff.
And that's it. And I just wanted to say hi, Bruce. It's lovely to see you.
He said he was going to start making videos. You should, Bruce.
Yeah, you should. I but I this is one of the things I've come kind of to come and say here, really, more than anything, is I absolutely will be fighting back against this because I have to try. If I don't try, then I do not know, what is going on behind the doors. What I don't know what X is giving over. I don't know what she's going to be doing with it because the subpoena is bypassed me and it has gone to someone else who holds my data, a service I use, and I'm kind of out the loop. And the only thing I can do that is in my power is to file something and say, I object to this. Please quash that subpoena for all these reasons. And I will be doing that. But if this woman has been watching my channel, she has seen almost every video, right? I mentioned something about the reasons I'm covering this and how therapeutic I have found doing this. Because everyone knows this all started for me, right, by finding the metadata. That was like I didn't know that was going to be such a big thing. It blew up
And
from
that's why you
nowhere.
thought you would be one of the first to get subpoenaed because you had actually
Yeah,
like
emails, Friedman.
been outspoken about sending tips to Brian Friedman.
Yeah, tips. Like I'm
Mhm.
not getting paid to do anything. I'm literally not.
And
Um,
that's what Dave Niels had said in the very beginning in January. He had a show that I put
yeah,
into an edit where he's like, imagine a needle in a haystack and you're trying to look for it, but now you have millions of people who are helping you look. And that's what was the creators, because in January everybody was in sleuth mode, right? Like everybody
yeah,
was trying to figure it out, piece it together, um like find pieces of the puzzle, because it was kind of like, okay, we couldn't understand it or make anything of it in our brain, so like let's make it better so we can understand it by like digging, and that's
yeah.
what everybody was doing.
No,
So
exactly.
people were sending tips into Candace Owens. I remember I sent some of the Brandon Sklenar stuff to with that promo video. I had sent some of that stuff to
Yeah,
Candace, and she had opened up a tip line, and I was like, "Oh, this is my ex post that I had made on it. Like maybe you might want to report on it or whatever."
yeah,
So
exactly. But I mean, for me, right? Because I remember if people go look through, because I'm a really nervous person, so I enjoy doing a live stream. I've never done one on my own because I'm such a nervous person, and I would probably freeze a little bit. I'm still finding myself after everything I went through. What I went through, um, is an almost 10-year long marriage, and it was horrific. It was incredibly controlling. It was a lot of abuse, a lot of sexual abuse, and I lost everything at the end of it. And I'm happy to kind of say all this. I've said it all before anyway, right? But
mhm.
to kind of like, I've said it bit in bitty parts, like across multiple things. So to bring it all together, I married someone, and on the wedding day, thing he changed, and it just got increasingly worse. And then as I was, going through, um, you know, a kind of an uplift, shall we say, in my career, and I was getting a promotion, getting, big new opportunity, rare once in a moment opportunity. And he didn't seem to like that. Like the more uh, the
The more
more
success you had.
yeah, like the more like because the more powerful, not powerful, but the more successful I became in my career, it's almost like he viewed it that I would need him less.
Mhm.
And then he didn't like it, and then because he thought that I needed him less, he squeezed harder and harder and harder. And we got to a point where, what was just kind of more sporadic, um, temper outbursts, throwing glass across the room, screaming, shouting names, throwing things, or all that kind of stuff. It turned into something really dark, where we got to a point there was a deadlock on the kitchen door. I could not. I had to get his permission to go into my own kitchen and get food or use the laundry facilities, and not just for myself but for the kids. And then there were cameras all around the outside of the house at first, and then there were cameras on the inside of the house watching us, me and the kids. Then there was a camera in the bedroom on me at night, keeping an eye on me.
Wow.
And my phone was examined, and I remember when the whole thing about Jen Abel come out and what they'd done to her phone and the monitoring and everything. When I recorded that video, I sat and I had like a really kind of somber moment where I, I really empathized with her. And like that was the hardest thing to cover this entire case, is when the police went through my phone, because there was a 4-year long police investigation after I got out of the marriage and divorced him. And when the police went through my phone, there were over 70 monitoring, controlling apps on my phone all at the same time that did various things, whether they controlled the screen, like or tracked where my location and everything,
Mhm.
right down to he had more control of my phone remotely than I did if when I had the thing in my hand. Like he could send emails and make it look
Wow.
like it was me. He could listen in on calls. He could make calls. He could delete calls, delete messages. It was wild. They got to a point where he put this app on, and it was called App Lock, and I couldn't use my phone at all. He put a pin on it. I had to know that pin. And if I tried it and got it wrong, it took a picture of me and emailed it to him so he knew I'd tried. That's how wild that got. And then he took my car off me as well. Like, no, you can't go here. No, you can't go there. And he would insist on taking me to work. And it was just, it was getting really bad. And then the worst thing then, my grandmother went into hospital in the December of 2016 with what looked like shingles. It looked like she would be all right. She was 91, sorry. And yes, she was she was elderly and frail, but she looked like, well, she just needed some antivirals and maybe a course of antibiotics, and she would be okay after a bit of a stay in hospital. She was in hospital for 4 months, and at the time I was back living in England and she was still in Wales, and it was just like, because he kept taking the car off me, I couldn't get to go and see her, and I never did see her again.
Oh wow.
And the next day he was telling me that my phone had been hacked. It was someone had bugged it, and he was convincing me that, not convincing me, but he basically took the phone off me. And my ex-husband is like a really senior, like he's a professional hacker, and he works for a huge tech company, and he's really, really senior and high up in it. And he did this thing, it's called flashing the phone. And that is more than a factory reset, because with factory reset, you can actually recover what's been deleted. What he did is he completely wiped my phone, but you in a way that you cannot recover it at all. Not even like the police could recover
Mm-hmm.
things that were deleted, and every photo, all my memories, everything just gone. And that was the day after my grandmother died.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and that was pretty bad, I think. But her funeral was she died on the 3rd. Her funeral was on the 17th. So I went. My parents realized by this point what was going on because they weren't around much because my grandmother was so poorly. So
Mm-hmm.
they were spending a lot of time in Wales. Um, my kids were there as well, spending time with their dad. Thank God, because I managed to send them off, so they didn't see half of this stuff. But he eventually left. So I was able to go to the funeral and get away from him for the first time. And while I was at my grandmother's funeral, he was taking his name off all of the bills for the house and everything. And it was just like absolutely insane. Um, and because he wasn't letting me sleep, because he was monitoring everything, like even my Fitbit, he would monitor it to see, how much sleep. Even though he had a camera on me as well, it was just wild. But like he would be comparing the Fitbit and everything, and he was
And this just makes everything so much heavier with like the intrusiveness of this. Like right now, I'm like just listening to all this, and I'm like, wow, it's not like you're an
no,
average
this is
person getting, Blake wants your information. This is someone who's been through like
no, this is
literally
awful.
such invasion of privacy, and now this is
Exactly. I mean,
crazy.
I
I mean, I knew your story, but I didn't know like it went that deep. And now I'm like, when I'm
no, and
reading the thing that it wants, like the bank account information and the physical address and all this stuff, it's like wow, like having to bring all that back up of being
yeah, no,
monitored, and now people want your info. It's
that's
wow.
exactly it. Because I mean, I was sleep deprived for 6 weeks. I only lived on, he wouldn't let me sleep more than 2 hours a night. I was quite lucky to get that. He controlled what I ate. Um, I had to eat what he made me, and I was just by the end of it, I'd lost so much weight. I did not know what day it was. I was proper, when they use sleep deprivation as torture almost, and you can't function. And I was like a zombie. And he was trying to get me diagnosed with split personality disorder. He was telling me, no, you're going out, you're going out, you're doing this, you're going out swinging, you're going out meet. He was creating, and this is what really caused a lot of upset a couple of months ago. And I'm going to say this because I'm not. There's no fighting or anything, but I am going to say this. A couple of months ago, we had a whole. I was getting dragged by Without a Crystal Ball. There was attempted doxing, and someone had found a LinkedIn profile which it did have a photo of me on it, and it had the name Leanne Newton on it. But the stuff in it was not my information. My ex-husband was making profiles. And I remember on the night that this came out, I sat and I told you and I told Lara all this, and I showed you the evidence as well, some of the police evidence that was part of all of that.
Yeah, I remember. I
Text
was like,
messages.
you don't have to prove it to me, but you're like, no, I want you to
No,
see.
I had to talk to someone because I've also not spoken to anyone about all of
Mm.
this apart from a therapist. So I kind of needed to get it off my chest. But when this LinkedIn profile was coming out and everyone was like, "Oh, it says you're not a lawyer. You're not a lawyer." Oh, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's not my profile. Like, where the hell has that come from?" And the police had done in their investigation. They'd found a load of profiles that he had set up, and this turned out to be another one of them because they looked into it. It was the profile was reported because it's not mine. The police looked into it and they confirmed, when it was set up, the IP address of where it was set up, the email address that was used because it wasn't mine, and yeah, all that happened. But he was doing things like setting up dating sites and then, coming to me and going, "Oh, look, see, you're trying to cheat on me. You're on a dating site, blah blah." And like interrogating me, when all the time it was him that set up the profile. And it got to a point where I actually turned to my dad and I said, am I doing this? Like, am I actually doing this? Because I don't understand what the hell is going on. And because I have, I've got lupus, and I've got, with that, I've got a condition called antiphospholipid antibody syndrome, which causes blood clots, and it's related to lupus. And I've had mini strokes, TIAs, um, years ago before I was on blood thinners. And I was like, am I? I was literally questioning myself, am I having a stroke here? Like, what the hell's going on? Like, why is he saying I'm doing all this stuff, but I've got no memory? And part of the reason I didn't have memory was because I was so sleep deprived. I didn't know what was coming, whether I was coming or going. I was losing my grandmother, you know, all my personal life and all my memories of my kids growing up had just been completely wiped away. And my husband was acting like the world's biggest dickhead, and had been for months on end, and I had no idea what the fuck was going on. And and like, this took years and years and years of therapy to kind of work through. I was diagnosed with complex PTSD. I'm doing okay now. But this is the first time, like, I don't really have, I've not gone out and made friends or anything locally. The people I speak to and I'm in the community with, the online people in America and Canada and, other parts of the world who I work, like collaborate with on this case are probably the bestest friends I've ever had. I heard Zach, for instance. He's never met me. I've been on a show. I've had his back. He's had my back. But today I heard him like really take Without a Crystal Ball to task, and I was one of the people he named. You will not do that to my friend, and I was like, I was blown away because I can't remember that anyone ever defending me over anything. But here was someone who I've never actually met in person. I'd love to meet him, but it was so lovely. Um, and I love this community. And obviously that night when all that happened, and the doxing and the LinkedIn profile, um, I had obviously CJ, she's my sister, my honorary sister, Lara, Brett and Aiko, and the boys, Roman and Ludwig. And they were just there for me. They looked out for me. I told him my real name and showed him, proof. So I wasn't just saying it like, so, no, like really, that's not my profile. This is my name. Look, here's my driving license. And, and the messages from my ex-husband, like, accusing me of having these profiles, and me literally at the time saying to him, but that's not my profile. I don't know what is going on here. And people were able to see evidence of me being gaslit in precisely that way, that fake profiles were being made. So when that come back round again, courtesy of Without a Crystal Ball, that was the time when I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore, because it's not worth it. I've got a 5-year-old little girl now who's so poorly. Her immune system doesn't work, her blood glucose regulation doesn't work, and she's fed with a feeding tube. She's also got autism. And I'm like, I'm taking time out. I'm trying to work on myself. I'm also caring for her around the clock. So,
I remember you telling me too, like, because you have so much to do in your like in real life, with the baby, with your daughter and stuff. I always call her the baby, even though she's 5. But Leanne knows what I'm talking about. I'll be like, "How's the baby?" But
yeah,
this was something that you did for kind of like yourself. Like, it was a little bit of a hobby. It was a way for you to like use your training and things, your legal training that you had. Oh, the Omar's here.
no, thank you, Omar. Oh my
Oh,
God.
Sweet. You have an army now. You do.
I
And so I
do.
remember telling you when you were like, I want to quit. I was like, you can't quit now. Like, there's no way because this is what, you did that was something that you were doing for kind of like yourself. Like, sure, it was, helping other people because how many other people always said, I stopped reading the legal docs. I would listen to them from Lauren and then get your updates. I wasn't like really reading them
Yeah.
as much anymore. Um, and so you were helping a lot of people be able to understand it because I remember how Emily D. Baker said Friedman would write for the layman, like where anybody could read it. But Ezra and Gottlieb would write like, it was always all over the place. And like, it was always nice to have your threads to go to when it was like Blake's filings because you kind of
Yeah.
dumb them down or whatever. And so when you were saying like you wanted to quit, I was like, no, Elsa, you
I
can't.
know I was in such a bad place, and honestly, I owe it to everyone really. Like who kind of propped me up that weekend. It was the worst weekend of my life since my marriage kind of imploded and all that abuse and everything. And like the community really kind of rallied, and it felt like such a foreign feeling. Like I just like, what is this? People care. Oh my God, it was just amazing. And I know certainly you and Lara particularly really had my back, and I owe so much to Perry because honestly, I was damn near suicidal that night as well because I was like, oh my God, this just like because people were looking for my ex husband who did all that, and it's not like I hadn't mentioned quite a lot of this,
And it got pretty
across
bad
with
on
him.
Reddit too. Like there was,
Yeah.
I mean, as much as support and army that you have, there was some people that were like,
Oh yeah, the Carol
trying
Taker.
to attack and that's the
Yeah.
one thing that I remember Colonel Kurtz told me in the beginning, like, there's the ugly side of being a content creator and um it was right when I was having like the burnout and stuff and she's like, just take a break or whatever. It's a long road. We still have, courts in March or whatever. But she was kind of telling me like there's also the ugly side of being a content creator. And then when I saw it go down in that Reddit thread, and then with that other content creator who was doxing and all that, and I was like, this is a lot because this is someone's like real life, and it almost was like it was re-traumatizing you from what you already had experienced, like the fear of
Yeah.
him finding you again and all that stuff, and I'm glad
Yeah.
that I was able to be there for you because yeah, it was a lot.
It was a lot, and that's why I was like, I cannot like I cannot have my identity just put out there. I will do things when I'm ready. I'm still it's not all about the safety aspect. There's certainly that. I've got my kids to think about as well. Like my husband is, works with vulnerable children. He's, like a child and adolescence mental health nurse. I cannot have like when we go back to, well, as part of these requests could involve joint bank accounts. Well, that could be his information then, in theory. And
Hmm.
then he's suddenly got his name dragged through all of this, and he works with really vulnerable children who have experienced some of the worst things that you could imagine. And he doesn't want all of that. He hasn't asked for that. But I just, like, yeah, this is why it's not about, well, I've got something to hide. It's like, well, what I do, like when I'm talking about these filings or giving an opinion or sleuthing something or just having, like a bit of a laugh and a joke sometimes, doing a bit of entertainment, then that's something I'm choosing to do, but I'm doing it like I'm just expressing an opinion, some thoughts. I'm using some skills I have, some knowledge, and I'm following something which is already public. Because even if the docket filings weren't public anyway, as a matter of course, which they are,
Hmm.
he put it in the New York Times.
Yeah,
He
that's
made
the
it
thing.
public.
One of the things that I'm going to discuss on my show tonight too is that where does this leave celebrity like opinion on celebrity, because it's a subject that's been broached a lot back in the Britney Spears era and stuff like that, where
Mm.
like how far is too far of like talking about a celebrity, like should we be talking about celebrities? Is if someone's on the public eye, should we be talking about them? Because you had all like Perez Hilton was one of the first people. That you have TMZ. It's like if they're coming after us smaller content creators, like, well, what about all these like the bigger people, like like the TMZs of the world, where it's the PR people who are the ones planning the story, like talk about my client and say this about the other person in the story. We saw it firsthand in those text messages, in the filings, where you have Sloan, you have Nathan, you have Abel, and they're like, tell this part of the story, or delete this part of the story. So it's like, I always, my Roman Empire, I guess, now that everybody's being subpoenaed and stuff, is like, what precedence is this going to be setting for, like, just talking about a celebrity in general,
Yeah.
just giving an opinion about a celebrity. um because I mean, even you, who's just like, little pseudo celebrity YouTuber, people have opinions about you on Reddit. Like, I see it,
Yeah.
when that whole thing went down, it was like, you know,
Oh,
99% positive, but then there was that little 1% that was like, well, we want to make sure she's saying, like, who she says she is. Like, we want her, identity and all this stuff. It's like, what, you're gonna go sue those people for, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, exactly. And when I started this case, like, there was okay. I was just observing from a distance. I had feelings on how I felt about the CRD, and then Justin Baldoni brought out his kind of complaint after Blake Lively's, and I was like, no, from a legal perspective as well, personal and professional, I was like, I don't like what she's saying. I don't like how she's saying it, and I don't like the lack of evidence compared to his overwhelming evidence. And things to, for me, like the very first thing that bothered me about the CRD complaint, and she replicated it in a lawsuit, in a New York lawsuit, was, and I said this to you last night. It was the sleight of hand, where she put an image of the 30-point the
mhm,
30 points thing, about which had comments about sexual assault and, no, sorry, sexual harassment. I'm doing a James Fatuska now. And
I almost did it earlier too. I think I did do it.
I can see what, and I've dragged him over that, but it is actually easy to do. But when she put that in, right, I thought, when she was like, oh, and they agreed to everything,
Mhm.
I thought that's what they were agreeing to, and I was like, really? Oh my god, But when you look in the footnotes, because most people who are, kind of lay people who are not non-legal people, won't look at the footnotes. And the footnotes I always find them a bit of a treasure trove, because there's
Mhm.
either snark in there, or that's where they hide the information that might lead you to something like the truth.
Mhm.
And in that, she put in the footnote, they agreed to, I'm paraphrasing, they agreed to basically the 17-point thing, which is actually Exhibit A. But for most people, including professional people who can read these things like me, initially, like, it was arranged in the CRD and in the lawsuit to be very misleading, and many people were absolutely convinced that Justin Baldoni had agreed to the 30-point document, which was never the case. And that took a lot of persuading people to sort of say, no, that's not the case. Actually, it was actually a 17.1, which has almost nothing to do with
Mhm.
sexual harassment in it whatsoever. It's just a list of demands. I want this and I want that.
Mhm.
And for me, if you've got to do sleight of hand in your filing, you're misleading from the start, literally from the first page. I'm not going to entertain that any further. I'm not listening to you anymore, because you should not need to do that if you can't be, you know, honest, and, you know, file something, raise a claim in good faith. Then I don't want to know the rest. And it only got worse from there, as you know, because we had the whole, Adam Monshine, kind of making it sound like he wasn't an actor when he really is. And like, and the whole thing now, it's carried on throughout the lawsuit. So now we've got, her saying in New York, and she's walked it back in her amended. Well, I was nearly nude. I had to wear this little bit of a, well, she didn't even say she wore the cloth. She just said generally people wear a cloth. And she kind of walked that back then. So she was, it wasn't even nearly nude. I can't remember what the words she used were, but it was like it was dumbed down. But then she filed her motion to dismiss in Jed Wallace's case in Texas, and suddenly she's not even nearly nude anymore. She's nude. That has become a nude scene all of a sudden in a lawsuit which involves only one party, who is the one party who cannot refute that allegation because he was not there. And I'm looking at real time and comparing and watching her change her story from what it is in New York to what it is in Texas, and I don't believe it. And more to the point, and I'm going on a bit of a tangent here,
Yeah, that's
more
okay.
to the point, if she has listened to my channel, which it's clear that someone has from her team, they've read my ex post, they've probably seen, because I do post my videos as well on there and
Mhm.
say I'm going live or I'm doing this. So they've probably looked at my videos too. If she has heard me talk about my own violence and trauma that I experienced, then and now her response to that is, well, I'm part of some smear campaign all the way over here in England, by the way. I am helping, a bunch of American people I have never met smear her, right?
Mhm.
Then, and her response to me is when I'm sort of openly saying, whilst Reed calling out her bullshit, look, I've had my own trauma actually. This is why what she's done to Justin Baldoni, this is why what she's done to Jen Abel, why it hurts me and bothers me so much, and this is why I am reporting on this case. Then I'll tell you something, when she's coming out and telling everyone, oh well, I'm gonna represent women, I'm gonna speak for women. No, you're fucking not. You are silencing me. You're silencing me. And you're doing it to a lot of other people who are commenting on this case and have actually made a point of saying, do you know what? I've actually experienced this. That's not someone who speaks for survivors. She's not a survivor herself, for a start, but she's not
Yeah.
speaking for anyone. She never spoke to survivors during the film, the making of it, the marketing of it, and she is certainly not doing that now. Blake Lively speaks for Blake Lively.
Exactly. And like with every creator has like their own kind of like reasoning for like following it and like wanting to be a part of it. And one of the things for you was it was, you know, relatable in a way of like, you know, your situation where, you know, there was gaslighting and things like that. Like there was pieces of that filing that you were like, "Oh, okay, like wait, what? They got into her phone?" Because I know that me and you had spoken about, you know, what they did with Jen Abel's phone, and you were like, you know, that happened to me. Like,
Yeah,
I was, you know, so there's all these different reasons why. Like for me, my reason, you know, how people are like, oh, it's just are all these content creators part of it? For me, it was just I'm like a web sleuth, and so I was just like, whenever there was like questions or digging, I just wanted to keep digging and digging and digging. Like that was my whole reason for following it was like, and I know you had Aiko's thing up here where she's like, you know,
yeah. I
the
would
way
say
we
hi,
see
Aiko.
celebrities not as human and stuff. But see, this is the thing that I'm trying to like kind of reconcile, or like one of the big like Roman empires or questions I have
Yeah,
too, because Justin Baldoni is also a celebrity, right? And so you
yeah,
know, he also has like these. So when people are saying like, "Oh, well, you're bullying Blake" and stuff like that, or you know, is it Shirsty? I always get her name wrong. Sh-
yeah, Shusty.
Shirsty, with the My Little Bump video was bullying Blake, da da da. But it was like, why was it not bullying when it was happening to Baldoni when he was being put in the basement when you know they were going around calling him a predator to you know people in the industry when they put out the New York Times article as if it was like the truth before any
Yeah,
trial had happened or anything like that, like as fact. Like, how was that not bullying towards him? And I'm like, for me, it's just I see like celebritydom and all that, and even like YouTube creators. Like I see Zach get hate sometimes, or like all these other. It just kind of comes with the territory, Colonel. Like there's gonna be people who like you, and there's gonna be people who don't like you, and that's just like their opinion, man. The dude, that's just like my
No,
opinion, man. Off of that
and
one movie, but so I don't know. I struggle with that whole like, should we not? Obviously, what Britney went through was like over the top. Like they really attacked her
yeah,
and stuff. So I'm not saying that that's okay, but I'm just saying like when you're a celebrity, there's going to be the ups and there's going to be the downs. Like we don't live in a world where everyone's always going to be kumbaya positive about somebody. So
no,
if and one of the things that I was, telling a friend the other day was I don't know if you followed Tom Sandoval, the Scandoval thing.
no,
Him and Ariana Madix thing. Well, he cheated on her, and this is a Vanderpump Rules reality show, and he cheated on her, and it went like viral. Everybody hated Tom Sandoval. Like it was the craziest thing ever. Like I've never seen hate like that towards a person, and I've been following celebrities for a while, and like it was intense. I mean, he lost his business. Like no, it was like he was like the plague. Women everywhere were like, "You cheater," like. And I said to a friend, I was like, if Sandoval could go through all that and not sue creators, like Blake can take a little heat. You know what I mean? Because it was nothing. What Blake has gone through is nothing compared to what Sandoval had to go through. And he's barely coming back. He was just on America's Got Talent. He's trying to like rebrand himself as a musician. I mean, he was a musician back then, but I guess he's trying to like make a comeback or whatever. But um yeah, all I'm saying is, I feel like her going after the creators and stuff is like there's been people who had stuff talked about them, and they're not sitting there, asking for bank accounts and stuff of creators.
no. And this is this woman, right? This honestly, this stupid cow. She literally didn't want to hand over her own financial records. Like she had to be compelled. So I'm so done. Like I could. I'm still sitting here and I keep saying like I'm judging my opinions of her based on what the evidence there is and the kind of the antics that are going on. Like, who's going through this lawsuit fairly and who clearly is not. And there is a discrepancy, but I'm very much kind of I've said if she comes with evidence that she was actually sexually harassed in some way, I will be the first person I will be on live stream and I'll be like, do you know what? I take it back. I've now seen some evidence. He was awful. He deserves everything that's coming to him. Blake, I'm really sorry. I owe
Mhm.
you an apology. That will be the first thing I do because I know I'm snarky a bit to her, right? Because I find this a bit infuriating with her that she says she's got evidence, but she doesn't seem to be looking for evidence. Like I'm not seeing her even at this point looking for evidence of the sexual harassment. She's just going after content creators to say, well, somewhere one of you has got to be, there will be evidence somewhere that one of you is participating in this smear campaign. It's untraceable, but somehow I'm going to find it. And I'm just like, you should be concentrating on your sexual harassment claims, really, because if there's no sexual harassment, there's
Then
no
there's no
retaliation by
retaliation.
default.
Mhm.
So she, she's kind of. I said to oh, who was it? I think it might have been. I said to Lara and Roman and Ludwig earlier. I was like, what she's doing now with all these content creators, because we do seem to be at random. We have looked, me and you, we have spent time really looking for a common causal link. Like, is there something specific that made all of us get picked? No, we cannot find anything. So, what it feels like she's doing is throwing metaphorical spaghetti at the wall now.
Mhm.
And it tells me that she has got nothing. She's got no evidence of anything because if she had evidence that would back this up, she wouldn't need people like me. She wouldn't need my bank details. you know?
Yeah, and the fact that it almost seems like, it could be just people that, like you said, she was watching the channel or looking at the threads and that she just, like, suspected or Orion suspected, like, oh,
Yeah.
they could be because of, whatever reason, either because you're anonymous or you don't show your face or because, whatever the reason may be, like, with, Janessa, because I know she uses, like, the AI generated videos to, for her, videos where it splices it up or whatever. It's like a script and then it splices it up, so maybe they thought she wasn't real or whatever. So it could just be, like, things that they were suspecting of people and they were wrong, like, you're actually a real person who's, got a whole family and, whatever. Because another thing is, like, the whole bot thing I used to think was like, "Oh, it's just like a bot, like a chat bot." But now, the definition of a bot farm or whatever is, like, real people who are getting paid to, like, literally clock in, like a telecommunications, like when you have a telecom job or whatever, like, you clock in, and that's what you do for a living, like, 9 to 5. You're this
Yeah.
person online, and you pretend to be this person or whatever, but, um to me, it gives me kinda like a tinfoil head, like, have you ever heard of the dead internet theory or whatever? Like, it
Yeah.
makes me all paranoid, like, what's the point of being on the internet then if everybody's not real? Like, screw you, Blake, like, no, I can't have no fun on the internet,
But you
but
know, I mean, I can't speak for everyone else. I mean, I've got theories, and we talked about that last night about why some people have been subpoenas. There are some that you can sit and think, well, there's some obvious potential, and I say potential very strongly, alleged causes there. So, like, with Andy, it could be because he's done the documentary, and he's got interviews, with some of the, I don't know if it's the cast and crew or just the crew, but some crew members have spoken out. Well, that's of interest to her. She probably wants that information. Without a crystal ball, she has insinuated in multiple posts that she has got insider sources. So that would be potentially of interest. I could see why they have subpoenaed those two. I cannot see why they've done it for everyone else, and I don't want to kind of speculate on it really. But for myself, the only thing I can think is going on, right, is yes, okay. Um, it, when I found the metadata, yeah, I said, people said, oh, you need to send it to Friedman. I was like, no, I had already done it the day before. So, you know, I technically admit that I sent something to Brian Friedman. I am not the only person to have done that. I did not get a response back. I didn't expect one either. Probably because he anticipated this kind of bullshit coming. But we haven't corresponded. He has not paid me. I have just said, oh, by the way, this might be of interest to you, and sent it to him. That
mhm,
is all that's happened. The only other reason I could see for her wanting to subpoena me specifically is because, and this seems far fetched, right? But I put nothing past her anymore now, is because I have been open, and she has heard that going through my personal data and my staff, a complete stranger having all this information and control is going to trigger me because of what has happened to me. And it feels like spite because I have not been flattering to her.
mhm,
I don't know. I don't know what other reason there is. Because I'm not awful mean to her, like I'm not nasty. I will criticize her. I will call her out for nonsense. I will, say, oh, this violin is ridiculous. But also, I made a point of saying, with her argument for her opposition that she filed for the Wayfarer's motion to compel her to produce her financial documents. Last night, when I was on the stream with you, I did say, well, actually, do you know what? She had some decent arguments. I thought they weren't that bad. And I have said before, with Leslie Sloan's lawyer, with Stephanie Jones's lawyer, if I've thought from a professional perspective, well, actually, what they've written is actually quite good, or, oh, I like that argument. It's a strong argument. It doesn't matter what party has made that argument. if they've done a good job as a lawyer, then I am going to say that. I'm going to make that point. I'm not going to just, you know, criticize someone and be an asshole just because I'm on the other team. I'm quite happy to say that any of the lawyers' work, if it's good, it doesn't matter if that is Blake Lively's lawyer to me. If they've done a good job, I'm okay with saying that. I know people don't like it necessarily because
Even Ashley, who got subpoenaed, there was times where she had to like take all this shit from like the Pro Baldoni crew because
yeah,
she would say like that Blake might have done something well in her PR strategy, and so that's why Ashley was like, "Well, what? Like, how am I getting subpoenaed? Like, I was getting all this shit from people saying like you're being too nice to Blake." So
yeah,
'cause I remember she almost quit too when people were coming at her for and she's just like, no, like there are some aspects where, her PR strategy did work, even though 90% of the
yeah,
time it doesn't. But so she's just like you, where it's like, all give credit where credit is due. And, that's what I don't think Blake really understands either is that the thing that people are like having opinions about is, things that she does or like just reflecting on her actions. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the thing with the little bump, like, anybody who's ever been shown that video, even, like, my guy friends who don't, like, really care, that aren't into celebrity gossip, like, "What do you think about this video?" Like, with no context, "Let me show you the video." And they'll be like, "Oh, that she's being, like, a mean girl." So it's like,
yeah,
even people who aren't in the, celebrity gossip arena watch that video and see her actions, and so is it bullying for us to point out that she was being a bully? Like, I don't know.
yeah. No, exactly. And I think it's fair game at the end of the day. Like that is the nature. I mean, we don't have the First Amendment in the UK, but we do have freedom of speech. We can't use hateful speech. And when I say hateful, it's like it's a fairly high bar. It's like racial hatred or um, you know
Mhm.
LGBTQ kind of hatred. Or some kind of discrimination. You cannot just be kind of you know awful to
Yeah,
someone for the
Joe
sake of
Raz
it.
in the chat, I don't know if you could put that one up, but she's saying, "This isn't
Or
nothing like Britney Spears." Joe Raz, she's saying in the main media, like, most content creators seem to know where to draw the line with the Blake stuff, like, we're not going after her in that way of, it says we put the she says the content creators put their heart into their stories. Like, we're not reporting and, like, sure, there's some snark with Blake here and there, but we're not, like, going after her in, like, this, bullying kind of way. It's like,
no,
I mean, at least for me, I can speak for myself, like, I don't, and I know you do too, like, we're not purposely trying to go at her, like, I mean, I might have said some snarky stuff about her hairline. I might have gone for the hair, um, the
well,
crazy.
we've all gone for the hair and the
But
nose.
people comment, like, is it bullying when I, like, because the one thing that I liked about her were her Met Gala outfits and stuff, but, like, is it bullying when I'm like, "Ugh, look at the outfit that, Kim K wore at the Met Gala," or whatever, like, is that considered bullying, or is it just opinion? Like, I don't know.
But
Where do you
that's the difference, right? Is that everyone's outraged by everything, so it's getting harder to say anything without offending someone. But at the same time, especially in America, you have these, you know, very broad free speech laws. It's a constitutional right. Um, Here in the UK, we have more of an emphasis on very strong privacy laws. I am looking forward to this motion to quash because once I've done with the American protections, because Google is an American firm, so I have to kind of and they're technically the ones that have been subpoenaed. So I've got to say, well, I object on principles of, and I then cite the American laws, which is what we did with Cassidy's and with Ashley's. Now, when I did quite a bit of Ashley's, and Ashley is a Canadian citizen, so I had to argue the American part of the law because Google is an American company, but and that's where the data is held as well. But Ashley, who is the person who is the data owner technically, she's the person. It's her data. Um, she is a Canadian citizen and resident, and then you've got Canada laws. I don't know why I said Canada. You've got Canadian laws. You've got things like PAPEDA, and you've got, there is a whole process. You can't just go with your American subpoena and demand someone's data just like that, especially if they're a Canadian resident. There's a process. There's a whole 6-step test that you have to go through in a Canadian court with, and you've got to obtain what's called letters rogatory. You can't just go with the subpoena. The subpoena is useless. And we had to put all of that in then, because it's like we've been given so little information. Like, what law is going to apply here? Well, we don't know, actually. We don't know which way that, Judge Lyman is going to look at this. So we had to plan for everything, every possibility. Like, well, if you're basing this on Google's jurisdiction, great. Okay, here's all the American defenses. But if it's based on Ashley's jurisdiction, here's the Canadian stuff. Have fun. And I'm going to have to do the same now. I'll have to do the American side. I will then focus very strongly on the British side. Again, they can't just go with a subpoena. We've got to go through.
And the other aspect of it is like, you're not making content, because like, there was the 2 filings that had come out as well. It's like, it's keeping content creators busy trying to file these motions, and then they're not creating the content. So
no, I'm behind, but I that worked out okay in the end, because I did help did the help for the people who needed that with their motions to quash. That was largely, was working with Cassidy, and we have a template now for American citizens. We also now have a template for Canadian citizens, and by the end of this weekend, we'll have one for British ones too. So if anyone else gets subpoenaed and wants help and doesn't want to pay for a lawyer, because you shouldn't need to pay for a lawyer, as you probably might have heard, myself, Cassidy, and Omar about last night. You should not be having to pay thousands of dollars for this. What you need is to file something, get it stamped. So you need to file it like about a week, because it takes about a week for it to get on the docket. On average, I've been looking at Brett's filings in particular. How long has it taken from when I know he has filed them to when I actually see him appear on PACER? And it's a good week to 10 days in most cases. That's not a hard and fast rule, and they certainly go in same day for the lawyers who are noticed on the docket, because that's how that works. But for non-parties, it is different. And if we file these things, get them stamped, and then send them to either Google or X, you would hope at that point that the individual companies, then entities, would then take up the fight. If they don't, then we are dealing with our own motions to quash. That's going to be a back and forth with us as individuals and Lively's camp. Okay. The worst thing that's going to happen is we're not successful and they get the data anyway. Well, what's going to happen if we do nothing? So doing nothing is not an option. And, as everyone has said, as Omar said, myself last night, and as you've rightly said as well, CJ, this could actually set a really horrific precedent if the content creators in particular do nothing about this. And some will choose to do nothing, and that is absolutely their right. But for those who want to, who are of the opinion, no, she's not having my data, there are options, and it doesn't have to involve, excessively expensive lawyers either. Because when you file something pro se, which is, as a, like a lay person, then the court actually take that into consideration. You're not held to the standard of the lawyers. So it doesn't matter if it's perfect, if it's got all the case law that you need, as long as you are putting in some argument and it makes some sense. And there is a bit of case law in there. We've put case law in the ones we've done. I'm actually really quite proud of them.
Yeah,
Um,
I really liked Cassidy's. It had a little bit of snark in
yeah,
it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
like that the writing in it. I definitely liked it. And even you're talking about prose. I had got a notification from Inner City Press. I think Donald Trump just filed something prose. It said representation Donald J. Trump. So I don't know. Inner City Press is going to find the documents, but he's suing the Wall Street Journal. So, I mean, that's pretty crazy that even Donald Trump might be going prose. I don't know if it's true or not, but I got a notification from Inner City Press saying, "Is it prose?" Question mark. And he's waiting on the paperwork. But yeah, at this point, I've seen even Nag was another of the lawyers that was like, it's not some like if it goes to litigation, then maybe it would be good to get a lawyer, but because it's not an individual getting subpoenaed, um,
mm,
because it's Google or because it's X, then it's basically you just saying, um, I don't want my stuff. But at the end of the day, Google or X are the ones that are have the legal representation, right?
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Well, that's
I'm
good.
really,
Thank you so much for having those templates too. Like,
no,
you
no,
work
no, it's
so
fine.
hard. You work so hard.
Well, I mean, I am reading these Snapchats, guys. I am sorry. We get carried away when we talk.
Yeah.
And obviously for most of it, it's been quite a tough subject. I didn't want to
Children's names.
break it
Rowan
up.
is like children's names. Yeah, that's gonna be next.
But so we, what was the question there? Yeah, no, that's sorry, that's it. I've got it. Yes, I mean, like I say, we when I started this, I was very much well. I had my find, and I thought, well, then that one find, the metadata, then it led to the amended complaint, which also led to the fabulous Exhibit A timeline, which has been so great for us sleuths because we have used that. We have,
Mhm.
it's like this is the dates we need to write. What's happened on that day? What was the news? What headlines were there? And we have found so much just from that alone. And then it was being used every 2 minutes against the New York Times, Blake Lively, and it almost everything that Wayfarer files. Well, they've been co-conspirators since months before, etc., etc. And I thought, well, that's my moment. That's my little mark now. I'm done. I'm not going to get another moment like this. And when no one was reading the filings and doing anything, like, there was no kind of law tube or Emily D. Baker to read, I thought, well, okay, I can do this. I can have a go. And I did have to learn at the start because, I'm not an American attorney. So I don't know the law off the top of my head. I had to spend hours
Mhm.
reading the law and the case law, statutes, and everything to kind of make sense of it all.
And you
It's
even
great
said in
to
the
know.
beginning you were like an observer because I always tell people you were like my first fan. I
Oh
remember when
well,
you messaged me in the DMs and you were like, "Hey, like, how do you do the threads or whatever?" And like, so you got into it as like a commenter, and then you started to create your own stuff. Like, "Hey, I can do this." But
yeah,
then you
I
got here
just had
for
a
me.
go, and then yeah, it kind of evolved from there really. But I wanted to like I thought, well, there's no one's talking about the filings and explaining it on X, so I like I'll start it, and then it kind of evolved from there then really, and it's been a great journey. But it went beyond like I thought, well, maybe I can make a difference here. Who knows, you know? But it went beyond that because then we had Brett and Aiko's story, and that got shared, and then it got passed around the multiple other creators who were all who also platformed it, including yourself, and helped share that story. Well, now they've made some progress as well, which is wonderful to see. Um, and then like this last week has been you know just given a bit of a hand and a bit of advice to on the motions to quash, and it's like I actually achieved far more than I set out to do, and I am proud of that. I will say that.
Mhm.
So you
And
know
because you do so much for others too, like, especially at home with, the baby and stuff, it's a lot of work. It's like this is kind of like I don't want to say
Yeah.
fun really because there was a point in time where you weren't having that much fun with it. When there was like filing after filing, where there was like 4 in a day, and you were like, "I'm in the weeds." But it was kind of like a way where you felt, and you've said it before, where you felt useful. Like, here I
Yeah.
am being useful, helping someone understand better the case,
Yeah.
because all we had and before all this is like MSM. They're, 2 little sentences of like, "Oh, a filing came out and, this is the statement from Gottlieb," or something, but you don't have anybody who's breaking it down and, like, helping the
Explaining
layman
art.
understand what the heck is going on. Like, I didn't really understand the Jen Able stuff. That was so complicated. It took me maybe 2 or 3 months. It wasn't until, like, March or April when you started to get really into the filings, that I started to get into that aspect. Even Jed Wallace, I wasn't really into until you started to break down the filings because I didn't really understand it that much. So, I
No,
mean,
I'm going to just quickly read these because I am so sorry, people. I'm not used to I'm not used to this, so please bear with me. So I've had a super chat from Nikki H. Thank you very much. How does the UK GDPR help you, Leanne, if at all? It's quite a strong privacy law. It's a European-wide privacy law. It's more about how the data is handled and who it is shared with. But I will be using that in a motion to quash. It provides protection, not absolute protection, but it does provide some protection, and that's going to be more useful for not this first stage where I think my belief of what she's going to do is subpoena a firm in America for the initial data, but then she'll want to subpoena British firms and banks and possibly me directly. GDPR will kind of protect me domestically, so to speak. So if she does try to obtain UK subpoenas, that will be more help there. But there are other laws that will help. She can't just kind of issue an American subpoena. She has got to, like Ashley, she's got to take steps, domesticate it, go to a UK court, and satisfy their various tests and everything. It's not simple. It's not impossible though either. So the fact that I'm in the UK does not mean that I'm immune from her obtaining my data. It's just that I've got a healthy start of a defense. But she's also got extremely good lawyers, so that's where I am. But thank you ever so much for that. So we've got Debbie Harry. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I really appreciate that. People are really kind, like so nice. We've got Crafted Moments here as well. Thank you. Came here after other YouTubers mentioning you. I'm sorry you're going through these. We are here to support you. That's so kind. People have been really supportive, and I am incredibly appreciative of it. And I know the other creators are as well. It's tough, and even for someone like me, who built a career in the legal industry, finding out that someone has subpoenaed your data it winded me actually. And I'm gonna have to sit and think about it for a while. Kinney, I love Kinney. Always goes scorched earth for me. She's had my back whenever someone says something shitty to me, like a lively troll, or even when I had that whole hassle with Without a Crystal Ball and the whole LinkedIn profile. Honest to God, I felt safe with Kinney, so I love her to pieces, and I really appreciate her. Thank you so much. Got Joy in General is now a new member. Thank you.
oh, thank you, Joy, too. She started following me on X, so
Oh, she's lovely and shit.
thank you, Joy.
We've got Vilo90. Thank you so much. expose all bullies and all bad people, celebrity or not. They will not silence us. Yeah, exactly. You know, to echo Kevin Fritz, she should not get special treatment because she is a celebrity. That is my opinion. Let's see. We've got tidbits of truth. Thank you very much. I hope Blake the Fake hears my diss track on YouTube. Oh, is there a diss track? Are you aware of this? Or is this?
What? Okay, so is there a new song out? Tidbits? Because
Yeah, if there is, like, we'd love to
playlist.
know.
Is it? Who was it? Was it Christina? No, somebody in the chat had the playlist that they ended up sending it to me. Someone has a playlist on YouTube with all of them. So, like, you could play the ones from Ludwig, the ones from Shersey. She just came out with the Subpoena Queen one. And it's
Yeah,
funny
I'd
because
love to
my
know
friends
that.
are like, "What are you singing?" Because I'll be like, "Subpoena Queen." That one's just as earwormy as where's the subpoena? Where's the subpoena?
Yeah, no, I mean
I have horrible
some
things.
people really channeled their inner creativity over this case, haven't they?
Tidbit. Where do we go see this diss track? Where's
Yeah,
Laura?
yeah. Let us know, like, if you can kind of message us or something, or you know, just drop a comment. And we'll try and find that.
Remember I told you guys I'm gonna come out because I used to rap. One of the fun facts about me that I told the group chat. Remember, I'm gonna come out of retirement and write a rap song.
Oh, Pixio Music. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate 20 super sticker. We've got Amy Shepherd. Thank you. Please know both of you have a huge support system. You're not alone. No, and she's right as well. We do, and it's not just between ourselves. Between ourselves, like it is like a family. Not even exaggerating that.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. But speaking for myself, the familiar faces I see, whether it be on Reddit, whether it be on X, or in the chat on my YouTube channel, I know people, I recognize names. I'm not the greatest at the moment because again, I'm getting used to this. It's still really new for me. At kind of pulling people up and comments and things, and I know, like, especially today, because it was quite a heartfelt. Why the reason I set this up quite last minute was because I had more emotion than anything to get out there, and right, this is what I'm going to do. And I wasn't, I get distracted, so I focus on what I'm trying to say and sound coherent. But I did pay attention and to the chat, and yeah, it's lovely to see the same people coming back and being so supportive. And I'm certainly very grateful. I know nearly everyone else is as well.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so cool even to go into like chats for other creators and like, I'll
Yeah,
be in Cassidy's chat or Zach's chat and you see like the same people and everyone will say hi to
yeah,
you and stuff. So it's kind of like I always say, tell Laura, it's like, because she always reminds me, like, this is real life too, because I'll be like, it's the VR headset I put on to go into the, social media world. And then I have my in real life. And she's like, no, this is in real life too. And I'm like, no, I know. But it's fun to be part of like this other kind of like mini community outside of like your real world friends and your real world people. It's cool to like be able to talk to people and like everybody has like their little show times, like Zach will come on at a certain time, and I don't know, it's something I look forward to, like today, especially with the crazy week. When
yeah,
Zach came on and his little snark, I was really looking forward to. And he really went to bat for a lot of the creators as well
yeah.
too.
He did.
It was a
And
great show.
I do appreciate that. I mean, wow, he really went
Yeah.
to town, and I don't blame him because it was awful. And I remember watching him nearly in tears on his live stream. When that all was happening as well. So sometimes people need to say what they need to say,
Mm-hmm.
but it was really nice that he did kind of speak for other people who had also been affected, and that included myself, from the same issue. He didn't have to,
And
You
the
could have
way
said,
they've
wait,
all taken us in too, because we're new creators, and I
yeah,
know both of us have had the same experience with, Zach's been around for a really long time, Colonel's been around for a really long time, and they've all,
yeah,
like, helped us get on our feet and, kind of showed us the ropes of, like, like YouTube and things like that, like,
yeah.
instead of it being like a competitive thing or anything like that, it's like, no, welcome to the community.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
it's been for me, for both of us. I think we've had the same experience with everybody, where it's like everyone invites us to the channels and stuff, and we get to do like, you know, I know that I be fangirling because some of these people I've watched, myself from before.
yeah.
Whenever you invite me on, I fangirl, Leanne. I get to be on Leanne's channel. Woo woo. Um, No, but for real, even for you, like, I love, like, the little tight community we have of everyone
Yeah,
kind of, and that's why it was nice to hear Zach, even though it was a little bit harsh, it was nice to see him say, like, band and say, like, we don't like the toxic behavior in the community, like, we are a tight-knit community, and that's not acceptable here. So I really
yeah.
liked it. I even tagged it in the comments. I was like, "In case anybody missed it, this is where the fire's at." Look
Yeah,
in the
no.
comments, then it starts at 14 minutes, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he explains anyway why he's so passionate. So you have to hear that, and if needs be, go and look at the videos in question. Because you can find them quite easily where the initial problem happened back in, I think it was April. It was around the time she found the Banzan thing. So
Mhm,
yeah, you can see what happened in real time. But they, like CJ said, though, everyone has really kind of, they've taken us under their wing. We are new. I've only been doing this for like 3 months, and it's kind of exploded a little bit,
mhm.
um, at a much faster pace than I expected. And I'm not complaining at all. I love it, but I'm I do spend time going, oh my god, I wasn't expecting that, or you're like, oh wow, what do I do? And I'm still getting a lot of advice, still learning a lot. Um, so yes, thank you to the creator community, and thank you to the people who come and spend their time and their money in many cases, to hear us. And thank you to Bixio Music for becoming a member. Thank you so
I
much.
know someone earlier said that we're super smart, and I love that. I'm like, "College paying off." No.
um,
College finally paying off. People think I'm smart.
we've got Dr. J Royster here as well. Thank you so much. Yes, there are some laws. Technically, the technically the UK is not part of the EU. There are still laws that will apply, like the GDPR and the uh, European Human Rights European Convention on Human Rights, and so on and so forth. Um, but it is, like I said before, though. Yes, they will help. They won't. They won't, definitely mean that my data won't be obtained, though. So it still needs to be kind of argued, if that makes sense. Plus, I think Shasti is she's Norwegian, isn't she? And she's but I don't know if she's based in Spain. I'm not entirely sure because I haven't. I mean, I talked to Shasti, and I will be talking to her at some point about this. Like, this is, I'm still trying to find out what all this is, what's going on, and what I need to do, because obviously she got one from Google, I got one from X, so I don't know whether there's much difference at all. I haven't seen the full subpoena and the requests. Um, they look almost identical, but I don't know that they are, you know, identical. So I do need to see that. I'm still waiting to get a copy of it, um, and I'm waiting to hear back from people to find out. Because you may be right. It may be that this all goes away just because I'm in the UK, but I can't say that for sure at the moment, and there may be different agreements between the UK and the US than the US has with, say, the UK. Sorry, than the US has with the EU. So It's a bit nuanced, really. I do need more information to figure this out. But thank you very much. Um, so going forward, though, I will be writing a motion to quash. That is happening. Is it going to be snarky and spicy? Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna say she'd stop. Well, she's not gonna, because it they may not like it, but they're gonna get some home truths. Um, it might be my one chance to kind of say something. So I intend to do that, um, out of an abundance of caution, if nothing else, because if I don't do anything, then I do risk X kind of saying, "Well, you didn't object, so here you go, Blake Lively," um, which I don't want. I don't want someone going through my data because it hits too close to home for me, and it's unnecessary because she has not proven that she needs to do this. She has not shown any kind of probable cause for needing my data or anyone else's of the content creators, particularly. So I think she's asking for too much and she shouldn't be doing this. And one of the biggest arguments is definitely going to be, well, hold on. If you want to see if bank payments have been made to me, why don't you go and look at Wayfair's bank accounts? You've had their financial disclosures.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, that's a lot of people were saying that as well, from the community, that it's like, get it. But then I heard it that maybe there was nothing there, so they're going, after. I mean, I don't know how it works, like whether like they're only, if they think
Yeah.
that it's coming from a different bank account or something. I don't know what it is that they're thinking, but it'd be one thing if they were just asking for, I mean, I don't know, it's just weird. Even like the physical address, it's like, what do you need to know? See, that's what makes me think that I know that Cassidy yesterday was saying, like, I'm not going to get subpoenaed. Um, but why would they want your physical address unless they want to, like, because I had a theory that maybe they want to like physically subpoena the actual people in for
Yeah, they
something
could
else
do.
that doesn't have to do with it. But I know Cassidy yesterday was saying, like, no, that's not it. They just want our financial stuff. So she quashed that because it was just like a
Well,
thought in my head. But I'm like, why else would they want the physical address of somebody?
yeah, and that could well be true. That could well be completely right. But I think the information there is what they've been told by Ezra Hudson. Well, has she done underhand things? Let me think.
Wait, so
Yeah.
Ezra Hudson said that it was just for the like to prove that.
They want to prove if we've been paid by Wayfarer.
Oh, okay. So then that's coming from her. Okay, that makes sense.
But you know, forgive me for being a bit skeptical, though. Like they, this is the same company who did the Van Zan lawsuit and subpoena and thought it was great.
Or like it hasn't, I don't know if it's been proven or whatever, but there's the part where they were still because I'm like, was that in one of the things that was stricken? But the part where Friedman said that they were still looking at Jennifer Abel's phone like up until
Yeah,
like February of this year.
exactly. Hi, Bushbirds.
You should be skeptical. Yeah. No, well,
Yeah.
like with this, it's like, I sometimes feel like a tinfoil head, because there's like, I'm like, am I being a tinfoil head or like, is this
No, because
legit?
I would have been like, oh no, no lawyer. No, I don't believe that a lawyer would do something unethical. I was like that at the start, and I was like, when Van Zan come out, I was like, okay, let's, because I have to, from a professional perspective, I also have to keep an open mind because it is quite a hard thing to get me, maybe compared to other people, but to get me to say, oh, that person's corrupt or that person's biased. People have seen it as well with the judge, and I don't want to get open that kind of worms up again as well. Well, yes, I believe she's getting preferential treatment there. I said it. But like I was like, no, No, there's no way. I can't see another lawyer filing a frivolous sham lawsuit to get a subpoena to dodge due process. That's not going to happen. And when it, turned out that actually, yeah, that's what happened, I was floored. I really was, because I could not believe, because I couldn't imagine ever doing that to anyone. Like, no matter how much I wanted the information, you got to abide by the rules in litigation. There are a lot of rules, and you have to play fair. And it's staggering that they did that. I well, I'm still stumbling over my words now, because it is a big deal, and I'm hoping that something is going to come from that really soon. But yeah, like, yeah, I'm now getting a bit. I could be really annoyed with, not just with Blake Lively, but her counsel have been, just the worst in many respects. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, I know that we've uh she said that she had gotten home from work. She's like, I can't believe it. I was listening to y'all in my pocket at work, and now I'm home from work, and y'all are still on. Because we will go on and on, me and Leanne. This is why we would stay up so late.
Yeah.
We would be like texting, and I'd be like, okay, but I really got to go to bed. And then she's like, yeah, me too. And then we'd still go for like 3 more hours.
Yes.
That's just us. We'll yap. You let us yap, we'll yap.
Yeah, we will. But we should probably
Wrap.
call it now here, because I
I know
think
A2L is
lawyers.
on. They came on about 30 minutes ago, so I'm gonna hop over there
Yeah, I
to
am. I
those
recommend everyone else does too, because I'd
to
love to
chat.
see what they say.
I'm gonna be on tonight at 8 Eastern. If anybody wants to come hang out, we're doing subpoenas and smear campaigns, and I'm gonna go do a deep dive into the Amber Heard subpoenas for X, and then also the smear campaigns or alleged smear campaigns of Justin Bieber and Nicki Minaj and Drake. So if anybody wants to head over there, I'm going to do a live at 8 Eastern tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me plug, Leanne.
No, that's absolutely fine. Thank you everyone who came, who listened. I'm sorry it was quite kind of deep in the end. I didn't quite intend to go that deep, but it needed to be said. It needed to be said, because this is starting to feel personal now. So for me anyway. But yeah, I will be putting together a motion to quash, and I will be reading it on live stream once I've done it. So I probably will not be doing much of the filings until then. So CJ will probably, should we cover the filings like maybe in a live stream at some point? We'll just go
Yeah,
through it.
and I'll try, and this is the good part about having the community where other people can pick up a little bit of slack as well. So, I'll try and keep on it so that way when we do the live streams, I can update on all of that. Because I remember when I took the 2 weeks off, like I felt like I couldn't at first because there was so many people who, were like, oh, we need to get CJ monetized. I know I'm yesterday's stream. Thank you, Leanne, because I was on your stream yesterday, and so I was 50 people away from 500, and now I think I'm like 37 away. So I appreciate everybody who went to go subscribe to the YouTube. But yeah, now I lost train of thought to what I was saying. Sorry. I got
No,
distracted by reading that, but yeah,
thank
I don't know
you.
what I was saying. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying thank you everyone for dropping by though.
Oh,
So
what I was saying was that sorry, what I was saying was that when I took my 2 week break, everybody else kind of like was still going. So
yeah.
I had this fear of like if I don't put out the information, the community will not have it. But because there's so many of us, where if someone takes a little break, there's other people who can continue it. That's what I was trying to say. The point I was trying to make.
And they do, when Lauren, I mean, Lauren didn't take as much of a break as she wanted to when she was in Australia, but I was making sure the threads were going out still, because she wasn't, like normally she's there, and I know there's a filing because Lauren is on the stream reading the filing. She's my alarm clock, but when she was in Australia, it was a bit harder, so I had to rely on the alarms from Pacer. From Court Listener, which are not always reliable. But yeah, so we kind of covered some of her stuff to make sure that it still got reported on, like the threads and things like that. Yeah, and that's we all look after each other like that. That's nice.
Yeah.
But anyway, I am going to go because I have had no sleep and I really need to now.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on and, letting me yap with you because I was like, "Are you okay?" And, Laura was like, "I think she just needs time," because I was like, yesterday the chat was like, the group chat was, happening, and today it's so quiet in there, and I was like, "Is something going on?" And she's like, "No, she adores you." I was like,
Oh,
"Is Leanne mad at me or something?" Like, she's like, "No, she adores you." She's like, "No, she wants you there and everything."
yeah. Hi, Cassidy. Cassidy's in the chat.
No, I said I'm not getting sued. I said this is step 1. Next step is subpoenaing my bank. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I came in late. Sorry, Cassidy. I misquoted you there. But I thought that's what I had heard. And I was like, I was waking up, like grabbing my phone, like, did I miss it? And so I came in late. So my bad, Cassidy.
I mean, it is plausible, just to very quickly touch on that, because that is what is happening to, oh God, was it Coslow and Case? It's not what's happening to them, but like with Stephanie Jones, she's looking into their information because she believes they're part of a smear campaign. Now, I don't think for a second that Blake Lively is going to find anything on us content creators. Certainly not for me anyway. I can't speak for everyone else, but you know, everyone I have spoken to is absolutely baffled and very clear. I've not been paid by anyone. I do not work for anyone. I'm doing this out of choice, and they've got their reasons, and they're usually quite similar to mine. They've experienced something, and the film meant something to them, and she ruined the film and then ruined a man's life. That's what their motivation is. That's what mine is. But there could there be a world where if she did find someone, one of anyone that who's been subpoenaed participated in the smear campaign, it's plausible that she could take action against them. I don't think so though. I think she'll just use it as evidence that Wayfarer were the ones retaliating. Do you know what I mean? So we're not getting sued. It's just a gross invasion of our
Well, I thought
privacy.
she might be like, "Oh, it was defamation because you made fun of my hair." Like, I don't know. Like at this point, I was
Well, it
like,
has to,
who
to
knows
be
how far
fair,
she can take it.
CJ, it has to be false to be defamation for a start. And her hair
And
is
her hair
terrible.
is frizzy. Okay. I'm
Frizzy, it's like a
positive then
bird's
I'll make
nest.
safe.
It's
I
awful.
did call her hair frizzy once.
Yeah, no. So yeah, no, you're good. There's nothing
Okay.
false. And she's a celebrity anyway. She's a public figure, so she can go and punch sand.
There's no malice. I just really am like, why is it so frizzy? Why?
Because she does not have conditioner in her hair care range, and that bothers me.
She has diva horse hair.
Oh, sorry, Jenny.
There's so
Yeah,
many.
that's a great one.
Okay,
Right.
well, I'm gonna head over to Ask Two Lawyers,
Yeah.
get some education over there.
Okie dokie. I will catch everyone really soon. Thank you for listening to me and letting me share all that, though. I do appreciate it. And thank you, CJ, for joining me.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, take care, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
See y'all tonight.